Hi there, welcome to the Kenny Veach M Cave mystery. A lot has gone on over time, but the most important part is leading up to his disappearance and even the night before, comparing past hikes in the same exact location. What was so different about this final one? And post disappearance, what's happened since, the strange, unusual findings, and what's been documented, caught on camera, what really stands out amongst it all. Collectively, what we're going to be talking about tonight is the anomalies within the case. Now, that word has been used loosely, more so to describe a visual area or to describe a rock when referring to a certain hike route. But genuinely, what needs to be acknowledged is the anomalies within the case. What stands out compared to previous usual patterns and trends? What's so different about a particular encounter, a particular action which yielded different results, better or worse? That can apply more so to Kenny Veach, but it can apply to other hikers too. So welcome if you're currently here during this live premiere. Feel free to listen in, relax, share your thoughts, reactions in the live chat box on the right side of the screen. And at any point or time, if you have any questions, answers, thoughts, theories, be sure to drop them down below under the video in the comments section. And if you want to support my channel in general, there is a PayPal link in the pinned message to follow through with. If you want to catch up on recent videos of mine and for the full coverage and research on the Kenny Veach case, etc., all that is available top right corner screen where the I symbol is up there. So to start off with, the importance of anomalies can help break down, in some ways simplify and separate all the mess at times, all the depth other times where there's a lot going on. Find one thing that stands out amongst everything and then analyze, look into it, maybe even compare, contrast to how it differs and why it's an anomaly. I've applied this method in recent time to the Noah Presgrave true crime case, and it has helped a lot in just organizing things, making more sense, and focusing on one thing at a time, picking out an anomaly, something that doesn't occur often. You know, whilst give you an example, whilst at the party house with Noah Presgrove attending different parties and walking away like usual, this one time when walking away he didn't return back and later found dead on the highway with brutal injuries and no clothes. That was an anomaly. Walking away on that occasion was an anomaly, but there's got to be a factor somewhere which differentiates from the previous times of when they've walked away at the same house party or a previous one weeks ago, months ago. With Kenny Veach, let's apply it there. So, has Kenny Veach been out in that same hiking area at any point? Yes. Before the 10th of November 2014, he was out there October. That's documented on his channel. Whether he truly went out there in October or early October, he uploaded his video that month, 1 month before he went missing. So he's already familiar with the environment and the area out there. He's already done a hike loop route, a brutal, demanding, long journey one, taking maybe 10 hours, 11 hours, but he managed it. He pushed himself more than other times. That could be an anomaly. However, he did make it back. He did say he would challenge himself previous times. Limited food, water intake. So it's not a first. But in terms of how much you push your body, your mind, that final hike that he did where he went missing, the anomaly there could have been he had hardly any water or hardly any food. He pushed himself too far. That one time of pushing yourself too far, that's when it becomes dire and there are consequences for those actions. Previous times he barely managed or just about managed because he still, took certain precautions by drinking an appropriate amount of water here or there or a bit of food. But you could say With Kenny Veach returning back to his vehicle after a hike, he would have beers in a cooler, as in the past, as he did in October as well, when at the mineshaft referring to it, he was excited. It was like a motivating factor to encourage you to do that hike, to push yourself and be rewarded at the end. However, when we saw it in that, separate footage, which was never included in the original hike, but it was a part of it. When Kenny returned back to the vehicle, first thing he decided to do was get a beer. He was dehydrated, he was knackered, tired, sore, probably had trouble swallowing. It became visibly noticeable when he decided to drink the beer. He couldn't swallow it. He just about managed. He was in pain and discomfort. He had another drink and then another drink, and then eventually he put it down and got some water. Is that what he normally does? So, under the conditions of having beer at his vehicle, when always returning back from a hike, he would drink it. But did he always make the decision to drink the beer first, or did he have some water first and then some beer to allow himself to enjoy and be able to swallow it without any pain? You could argue and say maybe he would normally drink the beer regardless once he made it back to his vehicle, but because on this particular hike he pushed himself much more than he has any other time, that's what led to the extra dehydration. That's what led to the extra problems with his system, his body, his throat, just internally. Pushing yourself more than ever, consequences because of that. Repeating the same patterns and behavior, that routine, the ritual of getting back to your vehicle, rewarding yourself with alcohol, but this time round, a form of negative outcome, not being able to enjoy that drink. So the drinking part may stay the same. The pattern of when he consumes it may stay the same, but the outcome this time round was different, in pain and difficulties swallowing. So what creates that anomaly, different from all the other times in the past? The sub-factor of pushing yourself too much. Previous times he may have not done it as much, so he still had the capacity to drink other drinks once he made it back, like the beer. This time round, out of the question, but he didn't know until he experienced it. So the anomaly is pushing himself more than ever. That could occur again, but worse, on his final hike. That is just one example, okay? As I said, anomalies aren't patterns and trends or consistency or rituals or routines. It's the unknown, it's the uncertain, it's the one blip moment that stands out from everything else. Just like if you had a person in life that would always go to bed at 2300 hours, but this time round they decided to go to bed at 1600 hours. It's like, whoa, that's really early for you. Are you okay? Are you extra tired? What did you do today to be that way, to want to go to sleep so early? When routines and habits are broken up by that one moment, that one action which differs from all other times, what's caused it? It's an anomaly, and it's trying to make sense of what caused it. A sub-factor anomaly to create that change, that break in the cycle. Breaking the cycle, a different outcome, whether it's by choice or not. For someone on the outside looking in, a friend, family member, a loved one, not a stranger, someone that is familiar with you and what you normally do and how you normally act, when it stands out, when it's different, it will be noticeable. And depending what it is, people may question it. So, in the case of Kenny Veach and with him going missing, of course, we're going to look at it closer and question more, right? What I'd like to say, just as a little sideline thing, unrelated, apologies if the mic quality isn't great. That is an anomaly itself, because really hit and miss randomly, there's like static, so I really hope it's okay now. I did some test recordings before and it was fine, but if on this occasion it's not, I do apologize. There is really nothing I can do about it. Clean the front facing mic, that's where it's coming from. Change some things about, and yeah, not too good, but I just hope that it's somewhat manageable, this, and once again, apologies if it's not. But yeah, to refer back to Kenny Veach, that is just one anomaly that stands out. The other important anomaly is the distance covered. Based on what we've been told and hoping that it's the truth, you never know, it may not be. The narrative could have been bent, changed, or half hearted, not given the full context. But Red Rock said when they did the search, 22nd of November 2014, Kenny's scent ended at the mineshaft, meaning it didn't go any further than that. Now, basing off Kenny Veach's hike and where he believed the M cave was to be at originally would be over Wild Horse Pass and maybe down Picture Canyon. And if it wasn't anywhere around there, Kenny did say to his nephew Hunter Veach that he would go 45 miles north over Wild Horse Pass if unsuccessful on his next hike, which was to be November. Well, based off where his scent ended, he didn't get anywhere near where he believed it to be. He never got anywhere near where he set out to go if he didn't find a cave. His scent ended at the mine shaft, which is before going over the ridge Wild Horse Pass. In Kenny's previous hike video, he started recording at the mine shaft, went over Wild Horse Pass, went down Picture Canyon and looped back to his vehicle down Jeremy Road South. So with that being in mind, what was so different about this final hike for his scent to end at the mine shaft? Something must have changed, by his choice or not. Something unexpected, something planned. Now, yeah, people have said about the phone, loose change being found near the mine shaft, which may have not been done any other time in the past. It's hard to know. It's an anomaly, but we don't have anything to compare it with the past, so we can't really call it an anomaly because there's still that uncertainty of what happens if he placed it down and forgot to pick it back up. That previous times in the past, if he was known to put the phone down or the coins and he would always pick it up, well, then there's a pattern, there's a routine, and this one occasion, there is an anomaly. There's a different outcome. Whether it's for strange reasons, dark intent, or by accident, it's an anomaly because it breaks the pattern and the cycle of what you'd normally expect, anticipate from Kenny. However, we don't know the past, as in what he would do. Would he normally take his phone out and coins and put him near the mine shaft or not? Some people could argue and say, even though there's no pattern trends to compare with, this could make it a bigger anomaly because it's the unknown. And it's just strange. Really, it comes down to the condition of the phone. Was the phone damaged, broken, with force, by himself, by accident? Was it gently placed down for other reasons? Was it to serve as a marker, a beacon point? Considering that Kenny Veach didn't want to be found, based on what the girlfriend said, based on what Kenny told her in the past about if he was to ever go missing, to go out there to end things, he'd make sure that no one could find him or could be traced. Well, technically that's true. But to take your phone out there and to leave it somewhere acts as like a marker, like you're playing hot and cold, leaving breadcrumbs. If you truly don't want to be found, you're not going to make any effort, as in leaving a trace beside your scent, which is hard to control and manage. That's why it seems like Kenny is playing some games, which is weird. And have we seen him play games in the past? Because if not, that could be an anomaly. But just to return back to the basic theme of distance, mileage, coverage, Kenny Veach, his hike, what he did was an incomplete, non-circular loop, right? Non-loop hike. He went one way to the mine shaft, his scent ended. He didn't then circle back or go over the Wild Horse Pass and loop all back round from what the scent was described as. He may have double backed on himself, of course, but he didn't do a true loop route. He didn't do his original hike. He didn't do a brand new hike route from what Search and Rescue say. There's still that what if, but because it seems like a half-hearted hike, or it was abruptly ending at the mine shaft, that's what makes it strange and unusual. Why did he not go any further? Because from Jomay Road going up Little Jomay Canyon to the mine shaft, there's not really any caves left or right. Maybe higher up in the ravines, but Jay Chuck went up there and didn't find the M cave or really any prominent ones. So really, it's going to be over Wild Horse Pass, maybe down Pitcher Canyon, or maybe further north over Wild Horse Pass somewhere. But he didn't even get to that point. So what ultimately stopped him from going any further? It's a bit of an anomaly because normally when Kenny goes out there on a hike, he does a loop back. He goes so far and then may circle back another way to complete it. Based on his October hike recorded, there's evidence of what he's done previously. That does not match to what he did a month later. So something had changed on that day, which makes it an anomaly. Has he been out any other time in that area before October? The answer is yes, because in the October hike video on Kenny's channel, he stated that he's been out there 2 other times in the past. So you add those 2 hikes with his recorded October hike, and the final time he went out there, when he went missing in November, that is at least 4 times. He's been out there at least 4 times. And to our knowledge, out of the 4, 3 of them were done as a proper hike and supposedly some kind of proper loop, going one way or coming down into the area and circling back elsewhere. But the November one was linear, one way and ends. And maybe if you want to call it kind of linear, but the reverse way, turning back, doubling back the way you came, almost like in a straight line. Not literally, but you get what I'm saying. So why, out of those 3 hikes, he was able to do what he needed or wanted, but then that 4th one, it's like hit an invisible wall, an invisible barrier? Is that because of psychologically speaking? Is it because of physically speaking? Did he push himself too far on that final hike and he faced the consequences much quicker than his October one when he was knackered once making it back after 10, 11 hours out there? If that really was the case, the temperatures would have to be a bit more extreme one way or another. Now, it is November time, so it's not going to be super hot or dry. Correct me if I'm wrong, apologies if I am. But in terms of the resources, what he drinks, what he eats, we don't know if he took food or water. People say in the girlfriend he took his firearm. Could be for any reason, on himself, as some people push, or for protection, because his October video proved that. This is the thing. Beside the distance being an anomaly and trying to work out the factors as to what caused a shorter, more abrupt hike, which could well link to pushing the body more than ever, facing the consequences quicker than ever. Less food, less water. Or it could be met with an unknown presence out there. Human, human-like, some unknown creature, the unknown. If you used to push the idea of psychologically, the person was struggling, that by running away physically, mentally, distancing himself away from everyone without the fear or worry of having to return back to face those people because of the possible feeling of guilt, possible feeling of shame and spiraling, it's easier to just let it be, distance yourself, not return back, and go into the desert and leave yourself out there, maybe in his mind. But that's not a guarantee because we don't have hard evidence for that. But people that have heard about his struggles and what the girlfriend more so says, not from the horse's mouth though, is kind of up and down. People push it because of the firearm, and they say the firearm is the turning point as to why he didn't return back. Because of his struggles in the past, he took a firearm with him this time round, and he must have used it on himself to end things. But let's be realistic. Even if Kenny Veach was struggling around that time, very likely he would have been struggling before that and before October. Because it doesn't just suddenly come on like that. Under certain circumstances and issues faced, it can be long standing, it can be chronic, it can come and go, but it can be long lasting, especially if events have happened in the past. And for Kenny Veach, in some way, it had happened in the past. There may be triggers along the way which may change and impact mood and feelings day by day, but ultimately, it's long standing, meaning the times when Kenny Veach had hiked in the past, he didn't do anything then. The October hike that Kenny Veach did, when he clearly had a firearm with him on that occasion, he didn't use it against himself, he made it back safely. That's a comparison point you can use and not push the whole anomaly on the firearm. If going out in November with the firearm was done for the very, very first time, you could say it's an anomaly, different from all other times in the past. But we've seen it as hard evidence in his October hike video. He had his firearm with him then. He did not use it on himself. Supposedly, he never used it when out there because there was no danger, no need to protect himself. But he had it just in case. Personal self-protection, whether that be psychological self-defense mechanisms on how you act and react to your stimulus environment or people about, or how you react and act physically with what you've got on you. Fist, hands, legs, knees, elbows, an extension, a melee item, a firearm, and all of that. Supposedly, previous times in the past, Kenny Veach may have not taken his firearm. Specifically, when out there in that location, he's been out there at least 2 other times before October. And out of one of the 2 of those times unrecorded, when he came across the supposed M cave, he said he was scared by the vibrations, the presence, the feeling of it, and the unknown. He hightailed out there because he wasn't prepared. He didn't have a camera with him, a proper one, and he didn't have a firearm. He thought if he was going to go in there, he'll take a firearm with him, and he even did the little action at the start of his video in October when simulating what he would do. So the firearm was used as personal protection against the unknown. He wanted to better himself. He wanted to be safe. A person in the presence of a firearm that wants to be safe counters the claim or the belief of Kenny being unstable and using it against him. If there's at least one recorded time, documented hard evidence of him with his firearm, never pointing it at himself, never using it, but just in case for self-protection, and making it back safely, who's to say that didn't happen on November, or at least that's what the intention was, to go back out there in November, to take his firearm for personal protection once again. Whether it was used or not, when out there, something went wrong, something unexpected happened. The only time I would say the firearm is an anomaly is if it's never been used before and it's never come into conversation before. Like when Kenny came across the cave, if he never said he needed it, then why would he need it on this final hike? Maybe for protection, but you've got nothing to compare it with. You'd call it an anomaly. And the one time you take a different item with you, there is a different outcome. So maybe that's the reason. Very, very small example when you're looking at anomalies, or more so mistakes made to the sufferer, as in if you got fantasy football, Premier League football, basketball, you got your fantasy team online, you got a certain selection of players in your lineup, you make a transfer, you drop one player out that has been maybe consistently shit, you bring in someone else that has been consistently good, but on this one day, this time you make that change, it's vice versa. The person you got rid of actually has a good performance and gets the points. The new player that you've brought in normally performs good, but on this occasion, hasn't. So there might be an anomaly, an external one, but in terms of your own choices made and mistakes made by making that change at that time, at that point, you've ended up facing the consequences for it and you've missed out, or something bad has happened. If Kenny Veach had done all of the hikes before without the firearm and was safe and okay, if on that final hike he decided to take a firearm for the first time ever and there was a different outcome, you could try and link it and say, oh, well, that's typical, isn't it? All the other times you go out in public without much, just a top. And then that one time you do go out with a bulletproof vest, someone decides to shoot you. It could be a coincidence, it could be unlucky by chance, but whenever there's a slight change, a change you make physically, mentally, and then there is an external difference, an external outcome that happens, which has never happened before. You try and start, pointing all the dots together to try and see if it links or not, right? That's not the case here with the firearm. I was giving you an example to explain how it could apply if there was nothing to compare it to. But obviously, we have something to compare to. He's already taken it. As for the items out there which are still missing, backpack, hat, firearm, Kenny's body, beside the phone and coins which were left behind, if a person is to go truly missing, everything that's on them sometimes can go missing too. If it's on the person physically, when they disappear, so does all the personal items, possessions that were on them at the time. Sometimes there can be a trace or trail that's left behind if things dropped out the pocket or it fell out a person's hand, whether an individual was to get kidnapped or to fall down a ravine or fall into a hole. Or there's a gust of wind, the hat might blow off as they're struggling to continue on with their hike. One thing departs, another thing remains, and then another thing departs later on. With the coins and the phone being found at the mine shaft, was it uniformed? Was it neatly placed there, or was it done in a rush? That's the unknown, the uncertainty. We don't really know. As for where Kenny Veach truly is, what happened to his hat? What happened to his backpack? What happened to his tent, camping equipment? Because he was going to stay there overnight, meaning he would need a tent. Based on his older hike photos on Facebook, he would have a tent with him. He would have a bag. He would have this and that. Not really an anomaly, but as a heads up, whether I've done a video on it yet or not, there was a ripped, abandoned tent damaged over Wild Horse Pass. It may not link. If Kenny Veach's scent ended at the mine shaft, how could Kenny's tent be found over there if there's no trail in between, there's no scent? How does that appear there, but Kenny appears back here? That's if it really was Kenny's and the timing of it. It's hard to tell. The scent ending at the mine shaft, you never know. Red Rock may have only told part of the story. And why? Because it's near to the military border, because the military may have worked alongside, Red Rock to make sure they didn't overstep lines or boundaries with it near to military and airspace and all of that. Didn't want to break any rules or laws, get into trouble. Raise the interest of the military as well. They wanted a land proposal takeover of that area a year later, so they might have worked closely with Red Rock just to make sure everything was done accordingly. No one stepped over the line. That could also mean in terms of processing and publicising information, it could have been limited or the narrative could have been changed. And if so, it would change everything about this case and the possibilities of heading north onwards beside what was said about the scent. I don't forget about that, but under the circumstances of what we know of, that's all I'm doing for now. But with a tent once being found by Scott Natal over Wild Horse Pass further north in some rock formation area close to the mountains, and then not far a tent bag from the same thing, and the colour of it kind of matches what Kenny once had in the past on his Facebook profile with one of the photos. There could be a link, or it may just be a coincidence. But if items are scattered about here and there and all over the place, does it follow a pattern or is it random? Has it been scattered by the person or someone else, or is it natural? Was it wind blowing items about? When it comes to bones, it can be scattered by animals taking bones away and moving them about. But because Kenny's scent ended at the mine shaft was searched over time. No trace sign of Kenny from there. No bones, no blood, no bullet casing specific to Kenny's firearm, no firearm found, no true bullet holes, no body. That is a little bit strange. If your scent ended at the mine shaft and it doesn't go any further, you'd expect if Kenny did die to be right there in front of you or to be in the mine shaft, and neither ticked the box. People could say, well, maybe he did die there and then animals scattered his remains and all of that. Even if that was the case, surely there would be some items that wouldn't be moved, like the firearm, because of the material that it is. What animal's going to think, oh, that's a nice firearm. I think I'll take that myself and do some test shots out back. Would a mountain lion come round and say, crikey, mate, look at that hat. I think I'll wear that next time round. I'll just pop my ears in and see if it fits. I don't think so. Items of weight, items of certain material which can't be eaten or consumed by animals and it wouldn't interest them, should remain where it is, like an artifact, old or new, should remain where it is, like how other items were unrelated to the case and just in general out in the desert. Like when you get tin cans, they remain there, not going to be used or disrupted or moved about much at all because it serves no use, no purpose for any wildlife or maybe anyone for most part of it. So, and as well, people could say, well, something may have changed over time, things may have been moved, but just take in mind, Kenny went missing in 2014. Sean Horlacker hiked out there in 2015. In a space of a year, compared from then to now, it's not as drastic. A 1 year time difference of when Sean went out there, first one in the early days, volunteer, went to the mine shaft where the scent ended up. Sean didn't find anything to do with Kenny. That speaks volume. In a shorter space of time with that compared to now, there would have been more chance of anything if Kenny had ended there and stopped there and may have died there, as in firearm, other items, bits and bobs remaining. Bones may have been scattered by animals, but personal possessions should have remained all in one spot, just like with the phone and the coins. If the phone and the coins were found by Red Rock Search and Rescue 7, 8, 10 days onwards, right? No animals thought, oh, some loose coins, let's use them. We can go round to the shop and buy some cans. Or, oh, there's a mobile phone, I'll contact my long-distance kangaroo cousin from Australia and see how he's doing. That didn't happen. So, if it's not of any interest to animals, the coins and phones should remain there. That's exactly what happened. If Kenny truly ended there and did not go further and did not return back, his bones may have gone because of interest of animals, but all his other personal possessions should have been there but long besides the phone and the coins, but they weren't. So something has happened. Either Kenny did double back on himself and leave items out there on purpose or by accident, because he wasn't intending on staying out there or ending things out there, and he double backed on himself. Or something did happen to Kenny unexpectedly by the hands of someone else or something, and whatever that was decided to take away the other personal possessions but forget the phone and coins. Some people have said that Kenny may have put the phone and coin there as a last-ditch attempt, a cry for help because of being in danger, not knowing what to do in the presence of darkness, an ambush, whatever, placing it down before taken away or abducted. And depending on how it was placed down could determine that as for whether the phone was damaged or not. But the other question that I would follow up with is, where were they exactly found? Near to the mine shaft, but where exactly? And were they concealed? Were they on the open planks board near to the mine shaft opening? Was it kind of by the side of the planks? Was it half covered by a rock, some planks? Was it partially hidden or was it in plain sight? Because if you're placing it down as a marker, a beacon point, and you're playing games, you might half hide it to play games with people. If you're trying to leave a marker behind because you're in danger and need help, you don't want it to be too obvious in sight, because whoever that's about may see it and think, oh, what are you doing? I'm going to take that as well. So there's a few anomalies about that, as in what's normal for Kenny to leave it there and what not. What's the anomaly behind, and if there is one, as to where it was found, where it would normally be found. If Kenny, if ever, used to put a phone or coins down, and even if he did remember to pick them up and then move on with his way on a hike, this one time round when it's left behind, what was so different about it? What was the sub-factor anomaly behind the phone and coins being left compared to all other times in the past, and that could well be the location of it. If it was in a hard to reach area, if it was placed down in a slightly concealed way, it was out of sight for him himself, and that's why he couldn't find it, or he forgot, or it wasn't as visibly prominent and Kenny wanted it like that, so for whatever reason people would have a harder time finding it, whether that be those searching for Kenny or there's any darkness present that's about to take him, but Kenny wants to leave behind an item to say he needs help or this is where he was last at. Because if he truly didn't want to be traced or tracked because he was going to do something to himself out there, he wouldn't take his phone with him in the first place. There's no reason to take your phone. If you're going to contact people and send one final message, you might as well do that before you even leave the house. And if at the very least, you're at the very most, you're going to send one final message before you're about to do it, and you're in the area, well, do it in the car, leave the phone in the car, get out, walk north, and then do whatever. It's not always that linear though, because some people may have the phone with them because they forget or they keep it with them close, and then they might have a heart-to-heart or a form of doubt, and then they might take the phone out just to look at a photo one last time before something is done. Yeah, there are those exceptions, but if you to stick with what Kenny truly believed in, or what Sharon was told and told us about it, the girlfriend, that Kenny, if he doesn't want to be found, he doesn't want to be found, and he won't be. And he won't be traced whatsoever. But he took his phone with him, his scent was left as well. If they traced the phone, to some extent, you could have probably found where it ended up at, maybe GPS. So he kind of contradicted himself there. Unless he genuinely was hiking, genuinely was using the firearm for self-protection, but stumbled upon something unknown, stumbled upon an anomaly out of all of the times hiking out there, and he made it back at least 3 other times, heading out there in that area, circling, looping, whatever, making it back somewhat safely home. This 4th time out there, distance cut abruptly, didn't get to where he needed to be or where he wanted to be. Phone coins found on the ground. Questions of the condition of it, unknown. Questions of the location of it. Was it done discreet? Was it hidden? Was it in plain sight? Could determine why he may have placed it there and why it wasn't picked up by him or by someone else that was trying to take him out. It's worth taking in consideration. The anomalies behind before going out there, like the night before, going to the cinemas with his girlfriend, is it something what he would normally do? Or was it like a last known get together, some quality time, some special moment, final time before setting out there because he had other things in mind and wasn't going to return back? But to counter that as an anomaly, to counter it with a form of reassurance, would be text conversation with his nephew Hunter Veach around that time, days before, and he said, either for your birthday or when I get back from my hike, I've got a surprise for you. Kenny intended on returning back from that November hike because he wanted to give his nephew something, a surprise. So you've got a motivator, you've got a factor why you're going out there and why you're making it back, returning back for your family, returning back to your friends, returning back to give someone a surprise. There's a reason to fight on, there's a reason to push forwards. And when out there hiking, you keep on going because you remind yourself what's at stake, you remind yourself what's at home and, the people out there. You take that into consideration. You could have had all the motivating factors, but there was one thing out there which Kenny did not anticipate or expect, and it caught him off guard. If he's caught off guard, it could explain why a firearm may have not been used. Personal defense may have not been possible. Look at the Noah Presgrove case. If there was a fight, if there was foul play, did he even have the chance to defend himself? If he was drunk, if he was blindsided, he wasn't prepared, he wasn't able to react quick enough, you wouldn't have a chance. If you're caught off guard, you're simply caught off guard. That could have happened to Kenny Veach, you never know. In terms of the anomalies regarding the investigation onwards and the search by hikers, members of the general public, items of interest found out there. Whether it genuinely is something mysterious or it's being misinterpreted. The Keyhole Cave down Picture Canyon near to the supposed covered M cave, which Sean investigated. Sean also, prior 2016, came across the keyhole, documented it unknown to him, but others picked up on it. I did too, did a video. It looked like a reptilian eye looking through the hole. Creepy, mysterious. Later, could have been cobwebs, could have been debris and dust caught within the webs, obstructing the hole. And when you align yourself with the camera and the hole and the obstruction, it creates a blockage, but the shape and size of it look like a slit, as in a reptilian eye. It's understandable, right? Psychological depth of field illusions and all of that. I've done videos about it. But when the original video was done, it did trigger a reaction. It led to resistance online. It led to strange behavior, threats, cryptic responses, really in depth and lasting for some time. Just because one thing was found, supposedly it triggered a wave of darkness. Not drama, not pettiness, but pure darkness and threats. Needs to be taken seriously. So was something found and it triggered someone because of getting too close to the truth? With the resistance levels being higher, you might be onto something. And when people push back and attack, it's a self-defense mechanism, a form of displacement, channeling it in erratic, uncontrollable ways. It shows themselves up, it digs them into a hole, it makes themselves stand out, but they're desperately trying to push and scare you away because you're too close to uncovering either the truth behind Kenny, the M Cave, or something else which they're connected with. On a bigger scale example, with what Kenny Veach claimed to be out there, after went missing, publicised it online, talked about it online, and then went missing. Is there a link? Year later, now the military want to take over that land. Another link. Was it all accelerated by Kenny talking about it in the first place? Was the dark resistance, the attacks, the threats, the death threats accelerated when I found something and publicised it online about the area? The only difference is what Kenny Veach did was in real life, boots on ground. What I did was digitally. So what we individually do, we equally receive a level of resistance or a reaction. But one will be more physical if you are physical. One may be more psychological if you're more digital and out of reach. So you could argue and say, if I was the one to find the reptilian keyhole and analyze it and even go out there, or said I was, and then record it, I could be the next missing person because that anticipation has caught the attention of some. I go out there, I get kidnapped, something bad happens, then no one's there to cover or analyze it anymore. That's why sometimes you need a headquarters, like Travis Neighbours said, boots on ground, headquarters. You need a constant within the case. Someone that isn't just going to disappear or get taken away or killed. You need at least one person anchored down to keep things under control. And that's not just with cases or mysteries. It can be anything in life. When there's a lot of resistance, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of disruption going on. Communities online, in real life, with strangers or more so people that you know or close to, one person has to at least try to remain anchored down, to be that lighthouse, because if other people struggle, crumble, or run, or freeze, or anything like that happens, it's not their fault. It's not them to blame. There might be external stuff going on. But there needs to be something to hold those foundations up, because if others crumble, this person crumbles, everything crumbles, then there's no hope. There needs to be a form of hope. There needs to be a form of stability. And if at least one person can do that, or one area or one community can maintain that, it means when other people disperse by choice or out of control, they always know they can return back to safety and return back to peace. It's never too late. But in the Kenny Veach case, for some people, it could be too late, physically. So I'm just thinking, what Kenny Veach may have discovered gained the interest and the attention of other forces out there, because by physically going out there again, it opened up the chance of being a target, a prime physical target with a prime physical response and action. But if it's digital, they can only do so much within reason. They're not going to come down, kick your house in, rappel down, and then take you to the Pentagon. That's not going to happen to me, likely. But you can still get the unknown and the darkness. Of course, I know that. But what I'm saying is, it goes so far. And then depending on what you do next, they may level it. So it does go deeper than what you could think. As for the anomalies, though, of findings, which then lead to reactions, interesting findings leading to strong reactions, strong resistance. There is an anomaly there. And what I mean by that is, there's other moments in the case where an item was found, a rock was found, a bit of gravel was missing, a rock was missing. There was some adjustments made to a mine shaft, the ladder, the cache, the supply cache, and then other things as well. Road closure, Jermay Road, all still very important, but not all of them triggered a wave or reaction of resistance. But the first one, which caused a resistance, as I said, the reptilian keyhole. The next one, which caused a form of resistance, the crystal skull. The next one that caused a reaction, at least, as in Susan Veach, was the CCTV footage. So there are certain findings in the case which gain the interest and attention of some, for good or more so for bad reasons and levels of resistance in a way. But then all the other findings, and documented by hikers, are just as important, but it didn't trigger a response from really anyone in a negative way. So if it happens less and not as often, there's not as much of a pattern or routine, making it more of an anomaly. And in terms of the findings themselves, they're all individual and unique because they don't always link or compare. But then again, in fairness, to create that pattern, and yeah, that pattern and trend matched or with contrast to a anomaly would be caves. How many explorable caves are out there? Really none at this moment, but there's been a lot of potential caves and a lot of shallow caves and some filled in caves, maybe naturally or whatever, right? And now all the hikers that have gone to the different caves and explored them to a small extent and looked at up close at them and even gone to the same ones as one another, but one saw more than the other people did and so on, that there's a pattern of finding caves and exploring. But that one time when one person goes out there, when another person decides to analyze it further, on that one occasion, in that one area, with that one unique factor compared to all the other caves, there's a keyhole compared to the other caves where there's not one. This one cave where it looks like there's a blockage in that hole and then it disappears, form of mirror, but no others elsewhere. So it gains the attention and resistance from dark forces out there because of one finding, one cave in particular, on one occasion. It's an anomaly. Out of all the other times, in similar areas or the same, didn't lead to much. But this one time, this one finding, it led to a reaction and a different atmosphere. That's what makes it stand out. That's an anomaly. So you could apply the present, future, and so on with findings linked with resistance, just like what Kenny Veach did. Out of all the other times Kenny Veach was out there hiking, what he found, nature, wildlife, bones, some caves, canyons to explore, dropping down, going up mountains, ridges, camping, and all of that. Out of all those other times, it might have been okay or somewhat safe, but on this one occasion when he did find something so strange and weird, and he challenged himself again to go back out there, and the more times you do, the higher the chance of something going wrong. You're chasing something out there which you've never seen before in the past. So this one change may change your actions, your behavior, your tunnel vision. You might neglect things. It can lead to a chain cycle of problems, or just one big abrupt one, as in something bad happens because you're chasing something out there which shouldn't be chased, or people don't want it to be found. Out of all of the times you were out there, you didn't know about it, so no one was worried about you finding or exposing it. But then when you do finally lock onto it, and you lock on good, and you're focused and you're determined, people are going to think, right, we're dealing with a pain in the backside here. We've got to do something about it. Who knows? Maybe. So as I said, when you do explore digitally or physically, or someone else does through the screen, The more you explore, there might be a pattern of, oh, cool stuff found here, cool stuff found there. And then that one time you find something which stands out amongst everything else, and it's that one finding, that one time when something bad happens and there's resistance met with it. The same with Kenny Veach, but on a bigger scale. We're using a microcosm anomaly with a bigger scale anomaly, which could have led to Kenny's disappearance. And now there's a lot of what ifs, but there is also facts along the way. Evidence of what's been found, what hasn't, and the reactions from people too. Kenny Veach did what he did, found what he found, supposedly talked about it online, and then it led to waves and reactions from different people. We saw that with evidence. It's being documented. And the same with post-disappearance and the investigation, what people are being met with. Another anomaly, in a way, which doesn't happen often or enough. Out of all the hikers that have gone out there and gone down Picture Canyon, even hikers that have repeated it, on some occasions, but not all, there's been problems with lost video recordings disappearing and even lost time, timestamps jumping from one spot 0.7 miles on, taking 2 hours 10 minutes of when photo A was taken compared to photo B. To do 0.7 miles does not take 2 hours 10 minutes, but doing it realistically and timing yourself if you was to do that, and being careful too, might take about 30 minutes maybe, especially if you're looking around and documenting. But 2 hours 10 minutes is what Jeff Clark experienced. Not possible. Very strange. And an anomaly. Jeff Clark has been down or up Picture Canyon more than once, but once or twice he experienced missed time. Just for clarity, Jeff Clark, you can list it down below in the comments. Did you experience lost time, maybe even more than once, on that same hike, and that only one hike? Out of times before or after, when going down Picture Canyon, did you experience any lost time on separate other hikes, or was it all on one day? If it's all on one day, it might link back to being zapped earlier on, feeling those vibrations as Jeff did. So you've got an anomaly, something that normally doesn't happen to Jeff, and more so for most of the hikers that come up or down Picture Canyon. They don't experience lost time, or at least they don't notice it. So what differentiates Jeff Clark from everybody else? What differs Jeff Clark's particular hike on that day in 2016, I think, compared to 2017, compared to 2022, compared to, was the one in 24 or 2025? Why was this one hike different? A sub-factor anomaly could link back to that particular time in 2016 being zapped, feeling vibrations earlier on in the hike, and later experiencing time loss. Right? That's what I mean. There's a pattern that's broken, a cycle that's broken. It becomes strange, it stands out, but then there's got to be a reason behind that change. And it can become understanding. It can be strange, it can be unexpected. An anomaly is unexpected. You could be in the presence of people in a room, or you could be around someone, but then suddenly there's a change in behavior. And it's an anomaly because it doesn't happen often. It might be the first time you're seeing it. It might be a cycle, it might be a pattern, it could be an unknown trend. But if you've never been exposed to it before, it will appear as an anomaly to you. If it's never happened ever before, but it's only happening now, it is an anomaly. Not every anomaly links to a sub-factor anomaly. There could be a deep reason behind it in change of behavior, actions, and all that. But in the moment, an anomaly is an anomaly. It's different from everything else. There's nothing really to compare it with to make it normal, in the moment at least. Then if you find and trace back to what may have caused it, what may have changed that person's behavior, their mentality, their distance, their closeness, it could be good or bad, right? What's changed? What's accelerated it? What's caused a sudden change a form of movement forwards or backwards. There's got to be an explanation behind it. Sometimes they may have the answers, but they don't know how to explain it, or it's not possible in the moment. Other times they may not know, you may not know, and you got to dig deep to find answers, find the truth. And sometimes you find the truth, you find the answers, it justifies, it explains what's going on with them, what's going on in a situation, and it is what it is. You accept it, you respect it, and hopefully they pick up on that. But when you're dealing with a mystery, the unknown, behavioral changes or not, or physical disappearance, no longer present, absent for however long, how are you supposed to know? You're in the dark. They themselves may know or they may not, but they may be in a position where they just can't physically, literally, or other reasons. With Kenny Veach being absent, disappearing, trace, scent, presence going cold. Was that done to harm people, to get revenge on loved ones or cause any trouble? Who knows? Or is it possible that you have, and this can be applied in general in life, you could have a genuine person, their internal feelings don't mirror their external actions, either because their external actions are of a means of a self-defense mechanism compared to what's internally going on, another internal battle, or their external actions are out of their control because of the unknown, because of overpowering factors, the unknown, the uncertainty, not being able to defend yourself, not being able to prepare yourself, not expecting or anticipating what's out there in the environment, what you're in that moment, or with someone overpowering. And then, if you're still alive, taken away, kidnapped, silenced, paid off, forced to run away, whatever it could be, on the run, in hiding. I'm just saying in general. And then that person could be thinking, I really want to do this, but their actions don't quite match it, or it's just not possible because of an invisible barrier, or there could be a physical barrier. With Kenny Veach, mentioned about the psychological struggles, could mention the physical struggles. Some of it could be self-inflicted, physically, pushing yourself too much when out there. Psychologically, that could correlate as well. There is an overlap. Other battles which Kenny Veach might be facing in the moment, at the time, or in the past, wasn't what he wanted, didn't ask for, but it happened and had to deal with it. But I just want to keep it balanced, that's all. With Kenny Veach, though, out there, firearm, personal protection, documented in the past too. Enthusiasm in being out there, determined to prove to people the cave does exist. Scent being out there as well. Promising a nephew that he's going to return back with a surprise, a motivating factor to do so, and so on. What was so different about this hike? With what I presented today, to an extent, I hope it makes sense, and you can let me know in the comment section whether you agree or not. If you've got your own thoughts or theories, your own anomalies, be sure to share it below in the comments. I really hope that this video gets that awareness and people do get to have a chance to listen in, and I do appreciate those that managed to watch and those during the live premiere and anyone watching in the background. Hopefully it wasn't too deep, but it was, understandable. If anything needs clarifying, you can always ask questions down below. There might be more anomalies as well, but this is just done on the spot without a script. You could get anomalies with other investigators and how they've gone about and how they've changed with time and what may have caused it, what slipped, what changed, what's the big difference, right? But I think it's just important to acknowledge you can get behavioral changes. We've seen it in mysteries, in cases, in true crime, in communities. There can be behavioral changes. Sometimes it's done with intent, and other times it's done because it's out of their control. And there's an overpowering agent or factor which takes over. As said, sometimes people's internal self does not mirror or match the external shield and mask. Kenny Veach, did he ever mask himself in his videos, in his presentation, compared to what he was like off camera? When he's recording out there hiking, as soon as he stops recording, like how he did and put the camera tripod down, did his face change? Did his tone, did his mood change? See, and you could say, well, what happens if I stop recording this video? What happens then? Do I jump about? Do I do uh, jumping jacks and change in burst energy? No. I'm flat here as I'm flat off camera. Simple as, right? Tone, voice pretty much stays the same. Facial expressions pretty much stay the same. Wooden face pretty much stays the same. Consistency, because I don't want to fake it. But did Kenny Veach fake it? Besides the mystery, the claim of the cave, besides his disappearance, did Kenny fake anything else? Because if he's known for faking stuff, that pattern could be repeated and could explain his outcome. If he's never faked it before and he's being genuine, when something unexpected does happen and changes, it's a big anomaly, it's a big flare up, it's a big change. If you know someone that's punctual, consistent, and then one day they don't show up, something's happened. If you've got a classroom, you've got a school, and a student shows up very enthusiastic, willing to learn, maybe a teacher's pet, goody two shoes, all of that. They might be top of the class, very intelligent, and they certain subjects or most of them, it's their favourite. They're always punctual, never off, never miss a day. But then one day they don't show up, and they don't show up again, and so on. What's happened? That's not normal. Something must be different. Something different as in what's going on in their life, what's going on out of their control. They want to be here, they want to be present, but they just physically or mentally can't bring themselves to it. Or someone has taken them. You know what I'm saying? That sudden change. You've not seen patterns before like that. There's an anomaly. There's a bigger thing going on behind the scenes. Will you ever know? Sometimes it can be unknown. It's unfortunate, but there's only so much that you can control yourself. So, just wanted to add that on. I hope the video gets to reach, as I said. Be sure to hit the like button, share the video as well if you can, and if on mobile, make sure to hype the video too. I hope the audio was okay. If not, I do apologise. My name's Warlike Ref. I'll see you next time. There is still unfinished business. Goodbye and good night for now.